What's going on, everybody? It's your girl Guruji Chastity, and we back this week with the second class to the 10 class course of beginning Reiki, right? Last Monday we talked about what is Reiki, right? What is Reiki? And this week, let me get y'all in here. This week, you gotta go. This week we are talking about surrendering to Reiki. What does it mean to surrender, right? What does that feel like? How do we call that into our experience? How do we use surrendering as a tool to elevate us? How do we use that as a launch pad, right? How do we use surrendering as a launch pad to creating the life of our design? How do we do that? And we talk about it, right? Reiki allows us the space of surrender, right? It allows us that space. And we about to get into it, family, so check it out. This one wavy, check it out. Welcome to the Abundant Living Gurukul Academy, where we are going over the second class to a 10 class course that is called Beginning Reiki, right? And so for those of us out there who are new to what Reiki is, who are interested in alternative healing methods, then this course is for you. Our first class, we talked about what is Reiki. On the second class today, we are going to talk about surrendering to Reiki and what surrendering means, what happens when you surrender to Reiki. And I'm going to share one of my personal challenges to surrendering to Reiki. So let's get into it, family. All right, so boom. What we are going to cover today, the content of today's class, is going to be number one, to surrender. What does it mean to surrender? That's a great question. Number two, uncovering Reiki within. What does balance look like in a newly aligned bod? I know that was my main takeaway as I began my Reiki journey in Reiki number one. I was not prepared for what Reiki was going to look like in my newly aligned vessel as I went out into the world. Number three, breaking bad habits, right? Reiki allows us to break toxic habits, or it allows us to see how those toxic habits break us. Number four, creating space within. Reiki teaches us how to hold with grace. And by hold, I mean things physical. And that does mean based on your five senses, but that also means how to hold things internally with grace, right? How to hold anger, how to hold fear, anxiety, all of the things that are unknown, how to hold our future with grace. Number five, and last but not least, practicing to surrender. And practicing to surrender is just, I'm just going to share, some ideas on what it looks like to surrender and what you can do, tangible things to the unknown. So that's going to be learn how to focus your energy, right? And last but not least, number six, again, I feel like I said last but not least for number five. But last but not least for number six is that I'm going to show you how you can continue your journey and your study of Reiki at your own pace with me. And you can do so on Patreon, or you can do so one-on-one if you are in the Nashville area. And Reiki, my Reiki program is a 4-week program where I take you through Reiki, breathwork, meditation, all of that good stuff. It's amazing. Important information about these classes. This full class video will be available at www.patreon.com/Guruji Chastity at the adept level. And this class is class number 2 out of a 10 class series. The first 10 minutes of each class will always be available on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, because I want everybody to have the opportunity to study at their own pace. And so it is my desire, it is my ultimate goal to create a spiritual university, just how we go to traditional universities to learn. But I am here to create spiritual universities that is going to cover a myriad of information that will teach us how to work with the unknown aspects of life, the internal aspects of life. So let's begin this class, family. To surrender, right? To surrender, what is that? So to surrender, let's peep game. What does it mean to surrender? To surrender
means to cease resistance upon the known and unknown, right? Cease resistance. When I think of resistance, I think of squeezing, right? Squeezing my hands together to make a fist, right? Squeezing, grasping, you know? Um, Resistance is also going against the current, right? I'm resisting something. So like if I'm in water, right, I'm trying to stand upward and walk, but the waters keep pushing me back, right? But I don't take that into consideration and go forward with the flow and see where that goes. Though it might take me off of a cliff, what could I be jumping into? But instead of being brave enough to see if this current maybe evens out, or it might take me off of that cliff, I stand up and try to wade against the current, right? And that's not what we want to do, right? So Reiki unlocks access to the unknown to better serve that which is known to you, right? And so we already interact with our five senses, which is our sight, our touch, our taste, our hearing, and our smelling nature, right? We already know how to interact with those pretty well. And we can say that we interact with them so much that we end up overlooking certain aspects. We can never take in all five at once because we've interacted with them so much. So then we can even think to say in our natural waking state, right? When things come out of alignment, it's because maybe one of our senses were off. But what if there was something that we could do to improve that to where every day in our waking state, we had access to all five senses at once when we needed to make a decision or a choice, when we needed to bring coherence to our lives. And one of those ways would be paying attention or exploring the unknown. Because when you only focus on that which you can control with your hands, you are excluding yourself from 50% of life, right? Because we think everything that we see is generated from some physical source, right? But we have to know that physical source then generated from something else. And what is that something else, right? From the outside looking in, someone could say, I don't know. Like, I don't know. What? I mean, sure, I need a moment to think about it. Give me some time. If I said, hey, here's this phone. Tell me where all these components from this phone came from and trace it all the way back to its initial component. You would need some time. The same thing goes to say about things that happen in your external environment. You need time, right? But that time is surrendering. That time is called surrender. When you allow yourself to kind of free fall into the quiet space within you, into the flow within you, so that the answers that you seek in your waking state can easily be provided to you, right? And so the question I want us to look at is, where do you have the opportunity to surrender? Right? That even gets me to thinking. That's what that silent pause was. Where do I have the opportunities to surrender? For me, it would definitely be in communication, right? Because I know that I am contracted to have this existence right now, to be a part of your life, to be a part of my own existence. I had to agree to the universe to come down here and to teach communication, right? To share communication, right? Gemini traits are all throughout my chart, right? So I'm communication heavy, right? That's the known part of me. That is the known, right? But one thing that I've learned is what can I do to surrender and enhance my communication? And surrendering for me is when I'm in communication with other people, don't hog up the communication. Don't hog up what is known. And for me, surrendering to allowing other people to have more expression in the conversation means I have to surrender to where this conversation might go. And it might go somewhere that might be boring, that might upset me, it might make me curious, but whatever state it takes me to, I have to be curious enough to surrender to it. Because, or not because, because what is known to me is communication, and that is my work, right? If I allow myself the opportunity to explore the unknown parts of communication, that is only going to strengthen what I know about communication. Because I might talk to somebody who I don't surrender to their communication style because they talk a little slower than I do. As we can see, that's even